Welcome back to the Padilla Family Homestead. We are here for another tea time with Jen. If you are new here, I am Jen, and this is
Emily.
She's here, you guys. She's home for a visit. Well, not home for a visit. She lives in California where we left, and she came out to Arkansas for the first time for a visit.
Yep.
So we are super excited to have her here. We may be recording a second one with her. When you see that air, though, she won't be here at the time. She is here right now, today. That's why this video is late. So, let's talk about what tea we're drinking, and then we'll jump into the topic.
I believe in you.
Guys, we have been battling. This is try number 4.
Yeah.
We tried to do this outside with the pretty trees and all the things, and this
Failed
train
miserably.
was kept honking, and then we thought it went away, and then would honk like super long. Every time I pressed the button to record, it would honk. It was really funny.
Every time she would open her mouth, it was just like.
We laughed so hard every time. So we are here inside without the trees,
But there goes
with
the
our tea. We're gonna make this happen.
I believe in us.
So, what tea are you drinking?
I'm drinking the vanilla peppermint one.
Mm-hmm.
Smells
It's
really
a
good.
holiday one from Yogi. We got it at Aikens here. And then I have a Celestial Seasonings Vermont Maple Ginger. So, I'm wearing my new hat that I got for Christmas for my girl. So it does smell really good. So good. We are going to be talking about parenting in today's world. It's going to be a little bit different than the previous one I did. So a couple years ago, I did one about parenting with intention. This time I really wanted to talk more on parenting with a young adult, because you are 19, going on 20 next month. And things kind of shift there, but I think there's a lot of things that still go into play when you're parenting this age that you need to implement early on to make parenting this age easier.
And I have a unique perspective because of my job.
Correct.
I do after school care. I'm a teacher at an after school care for the city I live in. And so I kind of get to see the different scales, different types of parenting on a day-to-day basis.
Right. And you have been through split custody with different styles of parenting. You've had family members and friends who have different styles of parenting. And so, plus she's the kid on the receiving end of the parenting that I'm going to be talking about.
Yep.
So
I
thought that would be a fun perspective to have her along with. So, number 1, everybody's different. Every household's different. Every set of parents is different. Every child is different. Even in the same circumstances of same house, same family, same values, same everything. You have to parent if you have 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, each one of them may have different ways they respond. And so I only have her. That is my experience as a parent. However, I'm the oldest of 4 kids. I have lots of nieces and nephews. I have worked with children a lot. And so, I'm going to share basic, far, not up close nitty gritty things, but the overarching, things that I would suggest putting into play. And then you could implement them with your values, with your family, the way your kid responds, all of those things. So with that being said, I'm going to give a little bit of history very quickly on us. So we had split custody from the age of when she was 4 years old on. And then we also, I was the parent. I'm not a parent. I was the oldest of 4 kids, one with a disability. As she was growing up, my focus got to shift at different stages. And I think that no parent is going to be perfect. I think you need to get that out of your mind. I don't think anybody can be the perfect parent, because we're human and we're going to mess up, and we try to go like there's thousands of books on parenting, but your kid is so different and so unique, and there's so many little things that affect how we parent. And in today's world, it could be very hard. There's the magazine covers and the YouTube videos and the reels that are just glimpses of people's lives, and movies and all these things that say what the perfect family should look like, what a perfect child is, what a perfect parent is. Well, here's the thing. We're all created so differently. And I don't think you can have a perfect parent or a perfect child, because nobody's perfect. It's just not possible. Yeah. So with that being said, I think that you can be the best parent that you can be for your child. Now, you may not be the best parent for somebody else's child, and that child may not be the right child for you. If it's not your, like, sometimes you're going to adopt, sometimes you could do foster care, things like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when people are giving advice and on parenting and so forth. What worked for us may not work for you, and we are fully aware of that. And so I want to make sure that I stress, when you're listening to this, do it with that filter of critical thinking and go, okay, is this something that can implement in, or is this something that I cannot implement in? If it's not, let it go. If it is, great. Hold on to it, figure it out, and try to implement it. It's no sweat off my back either way. I know that there are a lot of things that sometimes people don't think about, who are starting to go through the process that we went through early on. And maybe we have some tips and wisdom that we can give. So, with all of that said, there was a few things that I decided to have be a focus when parenting her. I knew I wanted somebody, a child, who would love, who could critically think, who would be a contributing member of society, and who would love God. And so there were a few things that I had to make sure that I did when she was younger, to start implementing those things. And so there are steps and things that you can do to implement the critical thinking portion. There are huge steps that you can take in loving, because sometimes it is very hard to be selfless and to love others in today's world that is so instant gratification and selfish. Yes. And so there are things that you can do early on for that. What did I miss? Critical thinking. I said loving. Oh, contributing member of society. Absolutely things you can implement there. And then obviously knowing who God is. And so, but for me, it's important that she has a personal relationship with God, and it has to be her choice to accept that gift that God gives us. And so all of those things were early on, like my things that I wanted out of a kiddo. It didn't matter all the other stuff. But that's what my goal was, to teach her what God had put on my heart to have be the foundational things. And there's sometimes I struggled with that. There are sometimes I succeeded with that. I think there are some things that I had to learn how she was going to respond, because she's very different than I am on a lot of things. And so let's talk about, because right now you are 19. You are working.
Yep.
You are
in college.
Are you going back to college next? Yeah, you're going back to college next, but she took a break this semester. Yeah. And then she is also working with she's going to go back to working with the youth group, I think.
Yep.
And then she's on a worship team for the young adults group.
And probably once I go back for the youth, I'll be on that worship team as well.
Correct. And then the job she has, she's hands-on with kids.
And I have a wide age range.
Currently, it was your choice because you didn't have to do this, but you're currently choosing to pay rent to your dad and to your grandparents that you're living with.
Rent,
and
phone bill,
helping put things towards that. And that, to me, those are all things where she is contributing back into society, right? She's learning these steps, and she's got a lot of things that she's still going to keep growing and keep doing. But to get to those places, you have to drill the importance at a young age of being kids today thinks things should just be handed to them on a silver platter. And there's so many who believe that. They believe they don't have good parents if they have to do things. And I think it's important that kids have to have responsibility. And how that works may be different. We struggled with chores because you were back and forth between the two houses so frequently. We struggled with continually implementing chores in. But there's other ways that you can be a contributing member. And so we did where we could. It wasn't a steady chores, but where we could, we did chores. You were a part of conversations. You were a part of some planning. You were a part of volunteer work when we work with gathering in with the homeless and doing different things. It's a posture of the heart to know I'm not in the world to be served. Exactly. I'm here to serve, right? And to give a contribution. And I feel like that is something that has to be taught from a young age. And if you teach that from a young age, you still will deal with some teenage.
Oh yeah, no matter what,
you're gonna still deal with some teenage.
Even if it's not in the teenage years, it'll pop up somewhere. It's different for every kid. I've seen some where it's popped up way earlier.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean that's common at the 2-3-year-old stage, and you have to teach even at that age do things.
I only deal with 5 to 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
Which still could be rough here and there, but
right. And I think that is something that easily can be implemented young to be carried through. Now that is hard when you're in 2 separate households, and I can speak to that because of parenting in 2 separate households.
It's hard as
and I want to be very careful because my job as a mom is to help do what's best for her, and that is to help nurture her relationship with her dad and her grandparents, but her dad. And so for me, even sharing what I'm sharing, I'm not always going to share all the nitty-gritty things because that isn't helpful to real life situations. And so with that, I can say that when I implemented things, I had to come at it creatively, and I had to look at it, winning a mom said, dad said competition is not good for anybody, and it's not good for the kiddo.
It can be really, really confusing.
It can be very confusing. And so one of the things I chose to do from a very early age is if there was some sort of non-agreement, it's what does the Bible say? Yep. And try to find in the Bible and have her learn to research and find in the Bible, what does the Bible say?
That was something I remember deeply appreciating once I got older.
Because you did not appreciate it when you were young.
No, I did not. Because I was just like, seriously? Nah. I'm like, you guys said this. That's what matters. No, it's like, okay, what does God say about this? Ultimately, he is the deciding factor. He is the one that is the truth. He is the truth. He is the way. He is the light. He's always going to put you on the right path. And you can never go wrong with what did God say.
And sometimes that means mom's wrong.
Exactly.
And sometimes that means dad's wrong.
Sometimes that means I'm wrong. And I'm okay with that.
In most of those circumstances where you had to do the research.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. And I remember, like, it was once I hit my teenage years and everything, like, older teenagers, when I was, like, 16, 17, that I started to appreciate that more. Because, like, you were the only one who really posed me with that question. Mm-hmm. You were the only one who posed me with that question, and it made me think. Well, that's... And I liked being... Like, I appreciate that now more than I did back then.
Right. And that's also after, like... Because when you started appreciating it was after... So she went through some major health stuff. We've talked about that before. Yeah. And that was in 2020. 2020. I graduated from high school. So... 2020 is when she had her health stuff. She had turned 15 that year. In the middle of this health stuff, she had lost 5 people that she really loved and were close to. Yeah. And she was on struggle bus, physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, all the things. She was done. She was angry at God. She was pulling away from God. Oh yeah. And so it wasn't until... Like, she made a choice early on in life, 11 years old, to get baptized and to, she knew that she was a Christian and she believed in God. Now, I think at 16, she had a real relationship with God at 16. And she came broken and humbled and also... just held together by him. Oh, yeah. And had to rely on him.
Yeah, because there's a difference between, like, oh, I want this for my life, but I don't want to put in the work. I'm 11. What 11-year-old is going to be like, I want to put in all the work that there is to be a Christian? Like, it's like, oh, yeah, I like that idea. Ooh, it's shiny and sparkly. It's a nice idea. Yeah, I want that. But you don't comprehend fully what work will be put in, like, you're gonna have to put in that. I don't know.
Because any relationship takes work.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. It's a relationship just as much as our relationship is a relationship, just as much as, say, a significant other and everything. You and Junior's relationship is a relationship. Just as much as me and a best friend's relationship is a relationship. Like, it's the same thing. You have to put work into it. There's so much work to be had, and when you're 11 years old, you don't really comprehend that. Like, your family members keep up the relationships for you, pretty much. They make all the play dates. They do all the different things. They keep you in contact with family. They drive you to all the family parties.
Yeah, but you're having 16, to learn that one.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah. Hold on, you need to respond to people.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I forget to text people back. I see it. I go to text them.
Grams will be watching.
And then I forget to text them back. I'm sorry. And then I feel awkward. And I'm like... See you next year. But there's a huge difference between that and, like, I'm broken, I'm beaten up by life. I knew this is what I wanted. Lost sight of that picture because I didn't want to put in the work, and now I'm ready to.
Well, and the fact that just because bad things happen and that he allowed bad things to happen doesn't mean he didn't love you.
Exactly.
And you figured that out. His love. And in that, her relationship shifted. Yeah. And she was able to go back to all of those core little things that everybody throughout her childhood had taught her. It
all kind of clicked.
It did. It clicked differently.
Like, I had all the puzzle pieces, I just had to actually put it together.
And at that point, she appreciated all of those things. But earlier on, man, the eye rolls were real. And she definitely inherited that from me. So, so implementing things into your child's life, especially if there's another household or a culture or an environment that is saying opposite. And that can be really, really hard. Now, in her case, she went to a private Christian school, but not everybody who went there were Christians. And a lot of times
there
schools
was a
like
wrong
that,
crowd and a right crowd.
yeah, there's a lot of times that kids like that go there are there because it's their last stop, or it's because they're trying to be sheltered. So it's an interesting combination of those two. And I never really wanted M sheltered, but I wanted her to have a solid foundation. I think it's important to question.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's important to figure things out. If you are going to have a relationship and follow somebody, you should know why you are and really believe that. And not just do it because mom said or dad said. And so that is part of critically thinking, is learning how to examine, look for your proof, look for the truth that is there. What is the truth? I don't think there is his truth and her truth and everybody else's truth.
No, it's God's truth.
I believe there's one truth. And so figuring out what that one truth is, I think is very important, and it's a journey, and it's something that you may think that you have nailed down, and then I guess it's the process of sanctification, right?
Yeah.
So,
on top of that, honestly, like, you think you have things nailed down. Let's be honest here. You never truly learn everything to know about that till the day you die. Literally, I'm sorry, you never have anything fully nailed down.
Never.
Like, no, never.
Because we're not perfect.
Never.
So implementing those things when she was younger is helped as she's older going through things. Okay, so we did. The other thing with critical thinking was I never just answered.
No. You posed as a question.
She hated that.
I hated it. It was bad. I was just like, why? It's like 9 a.m. I need coffee at 11 years old. I don't want to think.
You were not drinking coffee at 11 years old at my house.
I started drinking coffee at 4 years old. Thank you very much.
So,
like me on that respect. Wait till you're older.
We squirreled. Okay, so with the critical thinking, I didn't just answer things. There were some things I for sure said no, but with the way she ticked, if I were to say no and not come back and sometimes wrap things around on why things work the way they did, and because of the split household situation, it was different, and she responded differently. But if I can sit down, she'd have to learn to listen to the no at first, and then I can circle back around at a later time or a proper situation and be able to go, let's talk about why I made the decision that I made, whether it was revolving around friends, whether it was revolving around a food or going somewhere or doing something. It helped her learn how to process at a young age that there's more things going on. Yeah. And that may not be the right course of action for every kiddo. And I think you need to pick and choose what you're sharing, obviously. There are some things that just are way above the age brain cells that they need to be handling and dealing with. But there are some times that it's okay to explain why. But they need to learn to listen to the initial yes or no, and then be able to, once they kind of got that, to be able to come back around.
That's actually something that I've implemented a lot with my kids that I help take care of and everything that I teach. It's like, oh, hey, Miss Emily, can I do da-da-da-da-da? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to say no right now. Would you like to know why? And they're like, yeah. And so, like, I'll explain why. I'm like, do you remember what happened, like, last time we did that and everything? And they're like, oh yeah, so-and-so got their lip cut and everything because, like, of that situation. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I don't want you guys to get injured, so I'm like, let's see how you guys do today, and I'll let you know tomorrow if you earn it back, okay? And they're like, okay, sounds good. Like, it's just little things where it's like, I'll explain, it's like, there's the initial no, I explain, like, hey, do you want to know why? And I give a tangible example.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, that happened yesterday. Do we want to repeat?
And sometimes it's not the right time to say it right away, but that can help with the critical thinking aspect of it. Showing love is another one that that has been something since I was young that has been important to me. I mean, I don't remember how old I was, but I would run around going, I love everybody, including mass murderers. And my mom's like, just stop saying that. And
I can only imagine, like, 10-year-old you going and running around in a grocery store. I love mass murderers.
The thing is, I'm going to get clipped here and, like, somebody's going to say something or I'm going to get flagged for that. The thing is that I can love the person and not like the action. Mm-hmm. I can love somebody and not like them. Mm-hmm. And you can love somebody who is hurting you, and you can love somebody who has hurt somebody that you loved. Now none of that's easy. No, and it takes work, and it was something that I was learning when I was running around saying that, because I was learning the difference between love and like, and I was learning the difference between different types of love. You have romantic love, you have a love of friendship, right? You have agape love, a sacrificial love of that's only possible through Christ. Mm-hmm. What's the other type of love?
There's eros, which is romantic. There's phileo, which is brother and friend. Mm-hmm. And then there's agape, which is the love of Christ.
Sacrificial love. Yep. Is there another one?
I believe there was one more. I'm trying to remember.
I'm blanking on it.
Okay.
Anyway, with that being said, when you are dealing with a young girl, today's world is mean. Yep. It's kids are mean, and it doesn't matter if it's today's world. I think every kid, every school has gone through it, every generation, because we're human and people are selfish.
There's a show called Mean Girls,
and I hate that movie. So there, we are born selfish. We are born that everything coincides to just about us. Babies, we are here to serve babies, right? That is how we have to, and then we have to teach otherwise. And when kids aren't taught that, or they're jealous and they don't know how to respond to jealousy or treat somebody that they're jealous of, or a situation that they're jealous of, then you get into the messy. And so trying to teach to love, even though sometimes people are mean, sometimes people have things going on in their heart that have nothing to do with you, and yet we still need to show love. And I mean, I have learned that majorly working in retail, but overall just in life, I have learned that massively. Usually there's something else going on that has nothing to do with you, and has something going on in somebody else's heart. Oh, yeah. And trying to teach her that as a young age, that one was sometimes young, but it was more as you got older too.
Oh, yeah. And it was more as I got into Fearless as well. Because I remember the lesson, and it forever sticks with me, is you can love someone without liking them. And it was just this entire lesson, based biblically, about how it's a lot easier to love than it is to like. You don't have to like someone to show the love of God. For goodness sake, you don't have to know someone to show the love of God. You can show the love of God to a stranger on the street you don't know them. You don't know if you would like them or not, but you still show them love. And that's what, like, God means by, like, love your enemies and everything. And,
and God is love.
Yeah, God is love. You don't know true love until you know the love of God. Well,
and as a parent, you learn another layer where it comes into, I can still punish her when she was younger, not now. I could punish her as a child because I love her. I could be angry over a situation or scared over a situation because I love her. And I want what's best for her, and she is choosing something that is not best for her.
Oh yeah.
And I think learning that as a parent changes the perspective on the relationship with God.
Oh yeah.
But saying focus on the parenting aspect. Yeah, consequences I think are very important. There's consequences for actions,
good or bad.
And for every action there is a reaction, and then that reaction causes another one, and the chain, like, if you go through a lot of the things, I would not be where I am today, which I love where I am today. I would not be where I am today and have the people in my life that I have today if bad things didn't happen before. And there weren't consequences for actions that happened before. And sometimes it's consequences for other people's actions that I'm collateral damage for. Yeah. And I think with that, it is important to be honest, depending on the age range, age appropriately honest, as you're going through some things that you can share. Because at a point, she now does not live with me.
Yeah.
Now we're at a point where I'm parenting differently. I don't do timeouts. I don't send her to her room, or like, you can't go here, or I'm not buying you this, I'm not buying. These things don't affect it the same way. Now she's an adult. Now she has to learn, and that's a really hard transition for kids to go from no knowledge, not understanding how these pieces work together. It's why it's so important, I think, to communicate on how certain things work together, how relationships work, and to help work through all the pieces. And sometimes they're not going to have things happen to them that are going to help them learn it while they're in your household. And so to be able to stay true to, for her to be able to stay true to what she really believes, she had to know what she really believes before she left.
Exactly.
Or before you turned 18.
Yeah.
She had to know what it was that she really believed. And then I had to be able to teach her, and others around her had to be able to teach her how to stay true to what it was that she really believed. And how to not be rocked by different opinions all over the place. There's so much everywhere on all kinds of things. I don't care if it's about what is considered healthy food, what is considered beautiful, what is considered the right thing to do for whatever, when it comes to medication for your PCOS stuff, whatever. For different kind of illness stuff. What is the right thing to do in how to, what jobs to go to, or whether to keep going to school or not go to school. All of these things, she has big decisions she gets to make. Yeah. And the biggest thing that I could teach her at an earlier age was how to process and to think and to critically think and to go through this and to follow peace. Yeah. Follow peace is another big one. Which was not that was not an intentional thing when she was younger. That has been more the last it's developed over the years. Yeah. So, as I learned things, then they became intentional. Sometimes you kind of just learn together. So, now that she is a young adult, my job's not over. I say that all the time because it's like, yeah, I've learned to let go. I am not responsible for her anymore. I'm not the same type of parenting situation that I was when she was younger.
Yeah.
Now she gets to call me for advice, and I still give advice. I don't have to force it down her. Now sometimes I'll be like, do you want real advice? Like,
do you want what you want to hear, or what you need to hear?
What is it?
Which one do you want?
Do you want me to smile and nod? Because Mom has a hard time doing that. So there
have been sometimes where I'm like, can you please just smile and nod?
I go, okay,
so
I'm
I
not going to talk. So there are times though that I still get to give advice and so forth, but I do it in a different way now also, because now it's more, again, I story tell in advice, trying to give examples or remind things, or okay, what, again, still bringing her back to the Bible. And one of the biggest things, have you prayed about it? Yep. And not just prayed about it, but listened to what the answer should be. And
is it the voice of God, or is it the voice in your head telling you what you want to hear?
Right, because we are driven by hormones. We are driven by desires of food and not wanting to FOMO, fear of missing out on things.
Yep.
Not fitting in. There's a lot. There is a lot. I mean, we can be so driven by fear in so many ways that can lead us to all kinds of decisions. And so those are things that we really do now. And because of the groundwork that I put in early on, that makes right now a lot easier for parenting. And so I know this said parenting in today's world. Today's world is very confusing. It is very confusing. There are so many topics that I don't even have to say, that are out there and all over the place, and everybody's going to have different opinions on all different types of topics. And it doesn't matter on any of the topics what they are, because I can think of 100 topics off the top of my head that the world has different views on when it comes to parenting. And you have to figure out, it's better if it's you and your spouse figuring out and being on the same page. But if you can't, then you have to figure out what it is, what type of parent God is calling you to be. And tip, look in the Bible. Read it. Like,
it's an interesting
do some research. And then once you know what type of parent you're supposed to be, and what things that you believe was being really laid on your heart are the attributes that you want your adult child to be able to have, then you have to go backwards and go, what is it that I need to do now when they're younger to be able to help implement that? And I say that because that's going to help you in the course of when they're not happy with you. She did not like me for a huge chunk of time. And we did not have like a happy relationship that you see on here. Yeah. And now we're friends.
You would never know if you didn't know us back then.
And so, I mean, even if you knew us back then, I don't think it was super public.
No.
But the thing was, there was never a question to people around us if I loved her.
Yeah.
And there has never been a question on, I don't think there's been a question for you whether I loved you. But there was a question on priorities, and there was a question on all kinds of other things. And the thing is when you have so many different avenues of confusion, things being said, and this is what it should look like, and this is what it should look like, and this is what it should look like, then that changes. It's hard. it's hard for an adult to process through all that information. It's even harder for a teenager to process through that information. And there are a lot of times getting advice from a lot of other young teenagers who don't have a lot of world knowledge and are trying to figure it out for themselves as well, who think they've got it all together and don't. And so I don't even have it all together, and I'm 42. So the hard thing is trying to filter that out. And so the best structure to give is to know what the truth is, and to be able to always fall back to that, because it's never going to change its mind. And it's always going to stand true. And you always have a center, the North Star to fix yourself to, right? And to know if you've gone off course or if you haven't. And having people in your life who hold you to, who are very honest.
And are super accountable and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky enough to have some amazing people in my life that do hold me accountable. And are like, whenever I go to them, it's like, okay, have you been reading your Bible? And I'm like, oh, yeah, forgot about that one. Type of thing. It's like, you wonder why you've been in a funk. And they'll, sorry. They'll hold you accountable no matter what season of life you're in, no matter, like, what decision you're trying to make. It's like, okay, it's like, where are your priorities been? Where's all that been?
Yeah.
And it's important to have those people.
It is. And it's great if you can be that.
Yeah.
For your kid. But it's also great if you can help encourage those friendships outside of you in their life.
Yeah.
And sometimes those friends are there just for that reason. And then sometimes they're there for a season, and sometimes they're there for life. And you don't know what that's going to be, and you don't know ahead of time where that is, and friendships come and go. And I think that's why it's so important to have a firm foundation in faith, because that never ceases. So, anyway, this video has been longer. We've been talking a lot.
Yeah.
I hope you found some encouragement in this. I'm not going to give you, like, you need to do this, and you need to do that, and you need to do that. I'm telling you what we found as what I found as a priority, how we implemented. She wanted to talk about some of her views on it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add to any of this?
All I have to say is, the only thing I ask, and this is as a child care provider, please, 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 do not be the parent to go, oh, my kid hit a teacher. No, he was just hungry. Please don't be that parent. That's all I ask.
Teach consequences for actions.
Teach consequences for actions. Hold your kid accountable.
Even if they don't want it. Even if it's hard.
Honestly, even when it's hard, even when they don't want it is way worth it. If I had not been held accountable for my actions, if I had not been taught to critically think, I would not be where I am today, able to teach kids how to critically think and hold themselves accountable.
Well, and it stinks too sometimes if you're in a split parent situation.
Oh,
you only have limited time, when you're like, oh great, the entire time I have to cancel the fun stuff I had going on, and now I have to
now I have to do homework. Now I have to be the bad guy. Yeah, and it's hard.
I'm like, not the bad.
It's really hard because it's one of those things. And I see it every day too, and it sucks because I'm like, I know how it is to be that kid.
Yeah.
From a split custody situation or from a very complicated parental situation. Mm-hmm. We have a couple of families, and it's like you can see the parents' face just like sink when they realize they have to be the bad guy for that day, and it's just. I think if I were to have a kiddo right now in today's world, and I were starting over, I would homeschool. I think that our society has both parents out of the home, and the people who are parenting our kids are teachers or care providers or whatever, and they have a structure that they have to follow. Exactly. And they have rules and guidelines that they have to follow, and
when it comes to your kiddo, that structure may not be what's the best for them.
Exactly.
However it is, some kids learn better in the morning, some learn at night, and I know it's preparing you for work per se and so forth, but on the other side of it, there's so many different styles of work, and there's so many things, and wouldn't it be good if you can figure out what it is your kid's good at an early age and help them thrive? And so if it were me starting over, I would probably be homeschooling, find a way to make the income at home, and being able to really help with all the day-to-day things, and still have them learn all the stuff. And still have them socialized. But
that's how your mom raised you and everything.
Yeah.
You guys were socialized,
I was homeschooled.
but you were homeschooled.
And I was socialized. Yep, we did 4-H, we did campfire, we did all kinds of stuff. We were very active in the church. We were very busy all the time. And we learned a lot socially, but we also learned a lot in our school books. And so I think it's important that we put our kids first. They're the next generation. And if they don't know how to people, if they don't know how to if they don't know how to be a productive, active adult in society, and how to stay true to what you believe and still be kind and loving, then they need to learn. Like, that's a rough society to be in. Not everything's going to be handed to you on a silver platter, and people aren't going to bow down to every need that you have. And there are times when you need to suck it up, buttercup, and just do the hard thing. And
when's the right moment for learning that balance? It's hard, but it's worth it. And like you were saying, a lot of times nowadays, childcare providers, teachers are having to end up parenting the kids, and I'm like, seeing it every day I do. I'm like, there's little things where it's like,
it's hard.
How to read and everything. There are kids who are above, like, where they should know how to read different things. There's, like, little things where it's just everyday things.
Well, it's how to deal with other
other people, sharing. Conflict negotiation. And, like, right now, we're in the middle of assessing stuff. We're having to do school assessment stuff. And it's like you're kind of realizing where you're having to parent them more as you're going along for each kid. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of eye-opening.
It is. And so I think that it's important to stay true to what you believe. And sometimes it's not going to be the mom staying home.
No.
Sometimes it's going to be the dad staying home. Sometimes it's whatever. And sometimes both have to work.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have an option. Or if you're a single parent, you have to work, and other people have to. But there are steps and intentionality that you can do in your life and in your kid's life to help keep you on the track that you want to be going down. So that's what we had to share. We will hopefully be back for another one together. And we will see you back for the next video. Thank you for watching.